Good evening, and welcome to the Tweeds County Board of Education meeting. Thank you to our in-person and online communities and stakeholders for joining us this evening. It is my pleasure to call the Tweeds County Board of Education meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, May 24th, 2022, and the time is now 6:06 p.m. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Tonight's meeting, Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. Motion has been properly made by Ms. King. May I have a second? Second by Ms. Stokes. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye or raising your hand if you approve the motion for tonight's agenda. Aye. Any opposers? No opposers. That motion carries unanimously. Now that we have accepted our agenda for tonight's meeting without any questions or concerns or changes, at this time I'll ask for approval of minutes for our May 10th, 2022 BOE regular session.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been properly made by Ms. Stokes that we approve our May 10th, 2022 BOE regular session. May I have a second? Seconded by Ms. King. Any discussions? No discussion. I know you by saying aye, raising your hand, that you approve the motion to accept the minutes from our May 10th, 2022 BOE regular session. Aye. Any opposers? No opposers. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. At this time, I will attempt ethics statement for tonight's meeting. Does any board member see any conflict of interest or appearing on our agenda for tonight's meeting? No. Seeing no conflict of interest, we will proceed with our agenda as proposed and approved. At this time, does any board member have any comments or concerns that they want to address to our community tonight? I would just like to take the opportunity to say congratulations, parents, congratulations, community, congratulations, all of our stakeholders for completing a successful school year. As today we did something different and allowed the students to go home a half day. Parents might not have been so happy about that, but I know teachers and administration was. So congratulations, you now have your babies in your hand, Tweeds County. You enjoy them for the few weeks or a week or two that you have before we start summer opportunities, and then we'll accept them back in August. At this time, I ask Dr. Bullard to present his superintendent comments and remarks. Good evening, Dr. Bullard.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Proceed.
Let me try it again. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, board members, community members, and staff that are with us in person and those that are with us virtually tonight. I am going to ask Ms. Tina Timms if she will come up. We do have a special recognition that we would like to bring to the attention of our community.
Thank you, Dr. Bullard, Board Chair Harris, Vice Chair Rouse, board members. Again, Dr. Bullard, to our community and to my colleagues. We talked about when we started the Public Relations Department in Twiggs County about a moonshot, about everyday people from all walks of life coming together and doing the extraordinary. And then when you add a pandemic on top of that, it makes it even more extraordinary. So our PEC department did something really extraordinary. So I'm going to invite Ms. Erica Williams to come up, and she's going to share some information about that and present her students.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The PEC department did something spectacular. We always do spectacular things, but we are being recognized by the Goodwill of Macon, Georgia. And so we go out and we volunteer every other week. And with that, we build skills, job-related skills with the students. They are learning how to work with others. They are learning how to have a boss, as well as myself, and they really enjoy going every week. And we were recognized as Volunteer of the Year for Macon, Georgia, from Goodwill. And I would like to invite my staff, as well as we do have one student who is here, and I would like to invite them up because without them, this would not have been possible. Azon, would you like to come up? Ms. Glover, Ms. Bryant. And for those of you who don't know, Ms. Bryant is our parent mentor, and she helps me a great deal with anything that I need. And also, Ms. Betty Jo Glover, she is one of my paraprofessionals. She has been a great help within the classroom, as well as when we attend these trips, just making sure that the kids are on task and they're doing what they're supposed to do. But we don't really have to worry about that anyway, because our students are always on task. And every time that we go out, we always get recognition about how well behaved our students are, how well that they work without having anyone to supervise them, even though we are there. So we're just building students who are going to be employed soon in the workforce, and they're going to do well, I'm sure. So this is a certificate that was presented to us by Goodwill.
Wonderful. Ms. Williams, appropriate for you to be in front and center, please.
Okay. Everyone.
Everyone. Yes, ma'am. Bring your student and your team members with you. Awesome. You are welcome. Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. You and your entire PEC department do an amazing job with our students, and we are very proud of this accomplishment. It recognizes all of the hard work that you all pour into them and the growth and development that they are experiencing as a result. So thank you again for all that you do. I also want to acknowledge that we have had a wonderful school year on this year, and parents and community members and guardians, make sure you love on and take good care of yourselves and your students over the summer. They are our hearts and our treasures, and we want to make sure that they are protected while they are away from us. We claim them as our own. When they get on the school bus and get breakfast and come into the classrooms, they become as much a part of us as they are a part of you. So we're going to give them to you for a little while, but we love to have them back when you get back in the summertime, because we want to see them and we want to continue for them to continue to grow and develop. We've had some horrible news that happened in our country, and I want to ask you all to keep the school system in Univale, Texas, in your prayers. There was a report that the governor did confirm that 14 children and a teacher were killed in a school today. And this happened this morning, and I'm sure just like we are celebrating the end of our school year and we're preparing for family vacations and summer vacations and summer trips, I'm sure they were doing the same thing today. I'm sure they were doing the exact same thing, and this unfortunate tragedy happened in their school and in their school system. Our hearts and our prayers goes out to those families of those children, to the family members, and of that teacher, that school system, that entire state. I want to say the entire education field. And I'd like to just offer a offertory prayer with my eyes wide open, that the Lord would bless our schools, would protect our students, protect our employees and everyone that surrounds them. So our hearts and prayers goes out to Robb Elementary School with that devastating loss today. This coming Friday, we have a great celebration that is planned for our 2022 graduates. Our graduation ceremony will start at 7 p.m. on the football field at Twiggs County High School. If the weather permits, if the weather does not cooperate with us, we'll move the graduation into the Cobra Pit, into the gymnasium area. But we're keeping our eyes on the weather. But right now, things are still planned for graduation to be on the football field, unless weather makes us make a different decision. Parents and community, please plan ahead to be on time. We will have security for COVID safety checks, and everyone will enter the high school campus through the JES parking lot. The gates to the football stadium will open around 5 p.m., and we will be closing them at 7. And we want everyone to enjoy the graduation ceremony, so please plan ahead to be on time. If we have to make a change in the location from the football field to the gym, we will notify everyone via Remind, via all of our social media outlets, to make sure that parents, students, and community members know exactly how to govern themselves on Friday. We're looking forward to that opportunity to celebrate our graduates. Mr. Chair, that concludes my comments for today.
Thank you, Dr. Bullard, for your comments, and we're looking forward to commencement exercises on Friday. And everybody be on time, because we won't make it. All right. If there's nothing else, I would like to yield opportunity to our District 12 state delegate, our District 2 representative, for board member comments at this time.
I have no comments, but I am late because I need no votes. So the line was a bit long, so I apologize.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Good to see you as always. At this time, we'll enter to our business agenda. Business agenda item A. This is our 2023-2027 strategic plan information being presented by our superintendent, Dr. Bullard, along with Mr. Justin Toomer, Ed Elements. Good evening to both of you gentlemen.
Good evening. And Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, again, community members and team members that are here with us face to face and those visiting us virtually. I have Mr. Justin DeLeon. Mr. Toomer was not able to be with us on tonight, but his colleague is with us in order to co-present the development and unveiling of our strategic plan for 2022-2027. So I'm going to give the microphone for this point to Mr. Justin DeLeon, and I will follow suit after he completes his presentation.
Chair, and the community, leaders and teachers and students in Twiggs County Public Schools. It's been a pleasure to partner with Dr. Bullard and the team in developing the strategic plan and just play a part along the way. I'm going to share a couple of slides to help align us on the process that we help to facilitate to engage the community in and leaders in across the school. So as we were approaching this work,
Justin, hold on just one moment. I don't know if he can hear me, Mr. Basley.
my colleague Justin Toomer, the other Justin on the project, and I helped to play a role throughout the process, both with project management and also stakeholder engagement and workshop support. Something that we really prioritize at Education Elements as we're working with communities and school districts to develop their plans is the belief that how we engage in the strategic planning process, it matters just as much as what we actually include in the plan. And what I mean by that more specifically is making sure that we have a clear, outlined, and tested process, that we're thoughtful about how and why and when we engage stakeholders, and that there's clear governance and clear roles throughout. And then finally, at the bottom, that really gets into the what. So your vision and mission, the core values that will guide the way you implement improving some of your initiatives, as well as the initiative areas itself. The methodology that we followed at a very high level really walked through and was guided by these 4 phases that you see. So we started off last summer, I believe, in about mid to late August. And that's when we were really aligning on who, when, how we were going to engage stakeholders through listening, through co-created design sessions. We follow that up with our foundations phase. That's where we are really digging into much of Dr. Bullard's work that he started as a new superintendent on his listening tour, engaging stakeholders across the community. And from there, we engaged different stakeholder groups in crafting the vision before we transitioned into design. So during design, that's really where we focus on building out each focus area and the corresponding initiatives for each phase of the plan. And then finally, we got more into tactical mode, thinking about what it's going to look like to begin to implement the plan, and then prepare to share the plan with all of you tonight. So just a very high-level timeline of the big touch points that we had. What you can see here, I know this is a long list, but the one thing I'd like to point out is that at each step along the way, there were different stakeholder groups that we brought together, and different individuals that we brought together to inform the work. I'm going to share a little bit more about how we did that and who we informed. But essentially, we began with our project kickoff. We aligned on our overall process, and then we engaged different leaders and community leaders in helping us to read through all of the stakeholder input and inform what our focus areas were. And then from there, we got into design mode, where we were really building out our focus areas and initiatives. By about January, the plan started to come together. And over the last couple of months, we developed a more polished plan and a public-facing version that we shared for feedback along the way. And that's what we're going to share with you tonight. So zooming out, if we think about the how of stakeholder engagement, I mentioned that one of the most important aspects that we value is making sure we do our listening and making sure that we hear from as many voices and a diverse set of voices as we can. And to begin that process, we really built off of Dr. Bullard's 90-day listening and learning tour. As you can see, and as you well know, he took the time to really get to know many members of the community, district employees, community members, and leaders, and understanding their needs, and understanding also their aspirations and their hopes for the community. That was also supported by Georgia School Boards Association, where they engaged the board members in a SWOT analysis to also understand strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, as well as a GSBA-led survey. We used all of this data coupled with our own stakeholder engagement work. So we had the opportunity to visit in December, just before the holidays, and we were able to interview students, teachers, staff members across all levels, from JES to Twiggs Middle School and Twiggs High School. We were welcomed in. We got to observe the classrooms as well. So we really tried to go as deep as possible and be as inclusive as we could in helping to facilitate the creation of this plan. As we were going through this work, something that you'll notice when you're looking at the mission and vision and values, they're sustaining from the previous plan. After all that listening, and then sharing that listening and a synthesis of it with different district leaders and community leaders, the decision was to stick to the mission, vision, and values, because that is is at the core identity of Twiggs County Public Schools. What we did change, though, were the focus areas in each of the initiatives underneath them. We're going to dig a little bit deeper shortly. So just to highlight a little bit more how we approach the work, what you see here are just screenshots of different steps along the way. Just very simple work product examples of how we built the plan along the way and did so as an inclusive approach as possible. So for example, in the lower left-hand corner, you see that we did some data synthesis and teased out trends and presented them back to leaders and community members. From there, we facilitated small group sessions where we had those same leaders begin to understand it and synthesize and come up with themes. So what were different themes we're seeing based on what students are saying, what staff are saying? What are different themes that we're seeing across different stakeholder groups? From there, we got more descriptive. And so we started to bucket and synthesize the themes together into affinity groups. And then finally, we landed on our focus areas and the initiatives. That's the colorful table you see at the top right. And that's really what built the main architecture of the strategic plan. You can see as we got more tactical and throughout the work, we had small groups helping us and supporting us with the different focus areas. So it was education elements really facilitating conversation, decision-making, and co-creation with these 5 groups of people. And they are the ones that helped us to synthesize what we heard from stakeholders and shape them into the focus areas that you see in your new strategic plan. And from there, we got a lot more detail. So we took those strategic initiatives that Twiggs County leaders, community members helped us to shape into those focus areas. We turned them into initiatives. So what are the measurable outcomes and goals? And what is the vision? What is it going to look like when we achieve a given initiative? How are we going to realize that? Or what are our specific actions that we're going to take to bring this strategic plan to life? After we did that and we got feedback and went back and forth, we were finally able to bring it all together into the strategic plan that I think many of you have in your hands and that you might be looking at right now. Dr. Buller's going to walk us through it in just a moment. And so, at a high level, the initiatives that we landed on, the focus areas and the aligned initiatives are these 5. Prioritizing learning and wellness for all. We know that the core business of any school district in Twiggs County is educating children, but it also means educating and caring for the wellness of each other, because if we can't take care of ourselves and our own wellness or that of our children, we're not going to be in a good place to learn. Making sure that we're prioritizing excellence. So excellence ahead, academics, facilities, and opportunities. And setting the bar very high within the community and creating meaningful opportunities for students. Third is doing things the Twiggs way. So we know, and something that was very special about when our team, when Justin and Allie and I had the privilege of visiting Twiggs, there is a very palpable and noticeable identity. One that's very welcoming, one that respects and acknowledges its history and how it's shaped the school system. And that's something that you operate from as a source of strength. So we wanted to bring that into the strategic plan as well and help that to shape what the future will continue to look like. And then the last 2 here, growing and sustaining our village, making sure that there are community-wide connections and meaningful relationships built with different stakeholders, organizations, and companies, but also sustaining the village in that of sustaining our educators by recruiting students to join the education profession and also bringing in more teachers to serve. And finally, developing those teachers through a premier, and all staff members through a premier People First organization. So making sure that everybody who's involved in the Twiggs County Public School system has access to professional development, coaching. In just a moment, Dr. Bullard, I'm going to turn it over to you, and Dr. Bullard is going to walk us through the different contents of the plan in finer detail. But what you'll see in the plan at a very high level is message from Dr. Bullard, welcoming you and breaking down the process that we follow, explanations of each of the strategic focus areas, the process that we use to build the plan, some notes from the steering team, so those leaders and members who are hands-on, and then also the more practical action plans for each of the initiatives. And the last thing I'll leave you with here are our next steps. So the idea is to build the strategic plan initiatives and the actions and owners in Simbly, which is a project management tool. So that's a key piece of translating this high-level plan into a day-to-day project that can be managed in the system. And then through mid-June, it's facilitating kickoff meetings with the initiative owners. And then finally, establishing dates for strategic plan monitoring. So knowing that once the team starts implementing, there's going to be learnings and pivots along the way. So with that, Dr. Bullard, I'll turn it over to you for a deeper dive.
Thank you, Justin. Mr. Basley, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and putting my presentation up. I know that you all struggled to hear that a bit. I'll cover some of the things that Justin was trying to share. Hopefully the community did get an opportunity to hear him a little clearer than we did in the room. But let me just say we're grateful for the partnership of Education Elements and with Education Elements in facilitating a very thorough, a very thoughtful, engaging, and enjoyable process in gathering the collective voices of Twiggs County. We spoke to students, we spoke to parents, classified staff, business partners, the Department of Education, clergy, and other community members in order to develop this strategic plan. As we go through it, you will see that this plan focuses on students first. Our primary goal is to see our students grow academically, socially, and emotionally. Also, this strategic plan intentionally highlights the opportunities for parents and the community to work in partnership with the school system. As Justin shared, since the summer of 2021, we've been gathering and learning information from across the entire span of the county. And what we've heard and what we've learned is what you feel is going well, what you'd like to continue, and what you'd like to improve, and what you want our students to be able to do once they graduate and leave our school system. And you'll see a focus in this strategic plan on excellence in the classroom, excellence within our buildings and facilities, excellence with the materials for our teachers and students. You'll see a continued focus on safety and having a welcoming learning environment and specific strategies to recruit, retain, and to develop the best educators and employees to benefit our students by partnering with universities, colleges, and other organizations. We want everyone in this school system to grow and to grow their skills so that they can all assist us in propelling our students forward. Next slide, Mr. Basley. Again, our mission, our vision, and our values remain constant. There was no need to change them in this process. They still address where we want to go in terms of generating excellence, one team, one goal, and we still are committed to inspire, challenge, and prepare the students to compete globally every day in order to do so. Academic success and college readiness is we all value. Having highly qualified employees at the highest level of excellence, efficient and effective internal processes, engaging our stakeholders and hearing their voices, and reflecting and adapting to continue to improve our student experiences. Those still continue to be our values, and they are reflected throughout this strategic plan. Our 5 focus areas, as Justin mentioned, I'll say them again, starts with learning and wellness for all. And that, again, goes to wellness for our students, learning for our students, but not just our students, for our employees, our leaders, our staff as well. And then excellence in our academics, excellence in our facilities, and having excellent opportunities. We want to make sure that we demonstrate for our entire community that we're going to reach high and search wide to bring the very best opportunities for our students in our school district and develop a quality community-driven learning opportunities where our community can join us in that effort. We want to do things the Twiggs way. And like I said on last week at our last board meeting, that we are unlike any other place in the state, I would even say in the world. Twiggs is Twiggs. We have our own culture, we have our own tempo, we have our own history, our own traditions, the things that make us unique. And we want to continue to increase the pride in Twiggs, the pride in the Twiggs way, and communicate what makes Twiggs unique. Because we believe by doing so, that'll continue to help us to grow and sustain our village. We'll attract others to what we are and who we are by communicating who we are. We'll continue to build relationships with other stakeholders, and not only will we recruit, we will become, as that last focus area says, a premier people-first organization by retaining those highly qualified educators and employees, and also growing our own from right here within the school district to continue to serve our students. This is our process that we undertook. We had over 70 staff members engaged in focus groups. We had 91 full days of engagement, over 50 students had discussions, either one-on-one or in small groups. 17 focus groups. Those focus groups were here in the school district, here in the central office, in the schools, as well as in our community, in churches, in the Senior Citizen Center, and over 140 participants overall attended those focus group sessions. We definitely heard your voices. We heard the voices from every aspect of this community in order to hear what the direction needed to be for us going forward. This is the team that was organized and that will continue to plan the steps and lead us along our way. This team was put together and it included teachers, parents, administrators, district leaders who represented a wide range of experiences. And through these community forums and surveys, conversations, we pulled all of our collective priorities together in order to develop these next focus areas and action steps and initiatives. And this will be the team that will lead these initiatives for the next 3 to 5 years. Focus area number 1, learning and wellness for all. What does that mean? That means that we're going to make decisions that center on learning and the wellness of our children. And that's not just academic, but socially and emotionally. We want to have responsive student interventions and services to meet the social and emotional needs of our students. By maintaining a safe, welcoming student environment, we want to make sure all of our buildings and schools feel at home for our students when they get there. We want to celebrate their differences, and we want to make sure that they are excited about the new ideas and that they feel valued when they come to school. These environments will nurture their social, emotional, and academic development, and we want our students to leave feeling their best and feeling cared for every day. Here's a few of the actions that we will take in developing this focus area. We are going to continue to increase the capacity of our staff in implementing PBIS, positive behavior in positive behavior interventions and support. We're going to provide opportunities that will empower our students to create different clubs and activities that support their identities and interests. We'll assess the school's culture. We'll assess the school culture to see what they feel and say about things that we heard, about things such as bullying or prejudice. and we'll incorporate inclusion programs to ensure that we develop our staff's capacity to measure that effectiveness as well, and continue to restore and maintain positive relationships and prevent any harmful incidents. Focus area number 2, we are going to continue to develop a personalized learning instructional environment for our students. We want to know how the schools are doing as aggregate, meaning the whole school, the whole class, the whole grade level, but we want to make sure we get down to the individual student, that we know how each individual student is performing. Not only that we know, but the individual student knows, their parent knows, they know what their strengths are, what their areas of growth, and we put an instructional plan in front of them in order to move them forward. This academic-driven experience will be designed for them specifically, and some of the actions that we'll take will be to look at where they're performing now and then begin to plan and align the instructional strategies to meet their needs. We'll establish a foundational understanding of what does high quality and effective personalized learning look like. We've been introducing that in our schools this year, and we'll continue to crystallize that understanding for our staff. We'll train instructional leaders on how to ensure that they disseminate effective lessons and that they design and manage effective strategies to move our students forward. Teachers will implement those new practices, and we're going to engage in many walkthroughs in order to observe and to assess the effectiveness of it all. And also, we've already begun to implement the instructional framework, and we'll continue to measure the student engagement using our Cognia instrument, the Elliott, to make sure that our students are engaged. Focus area number 3, we're going to focus on excellence ahead, academics, facilities, and opportunities. What does that mean? That means we're going to set the bar high, as I said, in all 3 areas, academics, facilities, and creating great opportunities for our students to contribute locally. We're going to reimagine our facilities. We're going to take a look at our facilities and what do we need in our infrastructure to ensure that our facilities are designed to meet the 21st century needs of our students. We're going to make sure that our spaces reflect the diverse cultural views of our community, and that our community members will be able to access our facilities and our buildings as resource centers, that the communities will see us as a resource. Here are some of the actions that we'll take. We'll implement an on-campus comprehensive student health clinic. We've been talking about our student health clinic all year, and we're in the middle of that process now, where we are getting the blueprint in place to renovate the spaces that Emory and the Georgia Department of Education have identified will be best for our clinic. We're getting those things developed to present, and then we'll begin with board approval to move forward with the renovation of those spaces. We're going to update and upgrade our district buildings and develop spaces for extracurricular gatherings, and develop school-level committees to identify facilities and to ensure that those facilities are utilized at their maximum. Focus area 4. Again, focusing on academic, facility, and opportunity excellence. We're going to develop quality, community-driven learning opportunities. We want to make sure that students are supported and can take pride in their current academic state, but also we want them to value their growth. We're not always where we want to be, but we're going to start right where they are, and we're going to ensure that all of our students are growing. We're going to make sure that there are meaningful opportunities for parents and families to engage in their students' education, and that is through academic support, but also we're going to be providing opportunities for them to learn more about social emotional learning and growth opportunities for their students as well. Here are some of the actions we'll take. We're going to train our teachers and our staff on defining what academic and social emotional growth looks like. We're going to begin to establish different protocols for what we're calling bug celebrations. brought up our grades. That's what BUG stands for. So we want students to know where they are, but we want to celebrate their growth. It's not always about getting to, being at the A level or being at the premier level. It's all about seeing your growth. So we want to be able to create checkpoints along the year to where we can have BUG celebrations, and that's going to look a little different at the elementary, middle, and high school. And we are also going to create a calendar where we can celebrate the academic growth of our students as well. And we're already doing a lot of that now. We're going to make it a little more formalized so that we can get down to the individual student. And we'll make sure we set up our remind accounts to inform parents of the growth and dates of these celebrations. Again, this is about looking at the individual student data, pulling that data at least on a bi-quarterly and quarterly period, and then celebrating those students' growth so that they can see that they're moving forward. Focus area number 5. We're going to do things the Twiggs way. What does that mean? We're going to empower the success of our community by acknowledging and meeting the unique needs of our population. Again, as I said earlier, no place like Twiggs. We're going to make sure that we market and foster pride in Twiggs and who we are, and engage our students in that process. What our community and our focus teams that came together said, let's get our students engaged in developing some swag for the school district. Let's let them develop things that represent their pride in the school system that can be worn in and out of the school and can increase our community's visibility. This will provide opportunities for us to recognize and celebrate the students' creativity while also increasing their pride and ownership in their school and the image of our community. We're going to convene the art department at the high school to get involved, to help develop contests and contests in our schools. We're going to get the art department to go to the elementary school as well and get those students involved in designing things, and students will get to vote on what swag they like the most. And then from there, we'll proceed with putting that swag on t-shirts and bags, and we're going to wear it in and out of school. I've even had the principals say they're going to make one day of the week a spirit day, where they're going to wear those spirit attire again to show the pride in Twiggs. Here are some of the checkpoints along the way: is to define the parameters of those contests, then to kick the contests off and have at least 3 designs created and planned before we even move into 2023. Doing things the Twiggs way, focus area 6. We want to communicate what makes Twiggs unique. And we'll do this through our PR and communications department by promoting and campaigning the Twiggs story. You know, you could be on Interstate 16 and you come out of Macon and you can, if you don't look, you'll pass the Twiggs sign and you'll see Huber Road, but you wouldn't really connect Huber and Sagoda Road with us, and then you'll pass Bullitt Road. You won't really connect it to, but we want everyone in Middle Georgia, everyone in Georgia to know about the Twiggs story. You have a champion standing right here that's telling them. I got a champion team up there that's telling everybody about the Twiggs story. But we want to make sure we campaign and tell everyone why we are unique, why we're special. What we're going to do is find and localize and tell the stories about those unique traditions and the strengths of our district and our current community. And what that is going to do is help to develop that interest in families knowing more about us and making Twiggs and our public school system a first choice for families to come and to move into our area and to be in our school system. Some of the actions that we'll take is that we'll work with the community leaders and get that historical perspective down on paper. From there, we'll begin developing slide presentations and marketing videos and creating things to put in our social media and on our websites. We'll create those communication plans, and then we'll share those when we go to the job fairs, we go to different presentations, when we build community partnerships and university partnerships. We're going to share that Twig story. And from there, we're even going to take what we develop and present it in our different public relations conferences for awards and certificates as well. Focus area number 7, growing and sustaining our village. We're going to take a community-wide approach to develop quality academic and professional environment by building meaningful relationships with stakeholders. We want our community to know we want to partner with them, and we want them to see themselves an integral part of the success of our students, especially outside of school. Students and their caregivers will be given a voice in the decisions that impact their school and their children's success, and the district will gather with community partners to reflect and identify new methods of supporting students beyond the classroom. Here are some of the things that we'll do. We'll increase membership of the schools, a shared decision-making committee to ensure that a representative group voices are present. We're going to engage the community in identifying additional educational pathways that they feel will be important to help build the future of our students. And we'll leverage partnerships and organizations to ensure that we're offering what the community feels that we need. Focus area number 8, continuing to grow and sustain our village. We want to recruit highly qualified educators for our local students. This recruitment and development committee that we want to put together is going to implement grow your own initiatives, mentoring programs for prospective staff, and to view a career, for them to view a career in the Twiggs County Public Schools as fulfilling. Here are some of the action steps that we'll take. The district will maintain an active recruitment and development committee. That committee will create a recruitment plan, and we'll monitor and adjust that plan annually. And the district will define and expand internal leadership career ladders, of which we want to do for our classified staff as well as our certified staff, to make sure that there are advancement opportunities for everyone. Focus area number 9, a premier people-first organization. We want to ensure that we retain those highly qualified educators for our local students. So these are some things we want to do as well to ensure that our students feel that they have support and access into the workforce and into great opportunities by having success coaches for our students. We want students to have meaningful connections with a staff member or a trusted member of the community and caring adult. And the research stands and indicates that every child needs a caring adult in order for them to be successful in school and to pursue post-secondary education and opportunities as well. And we want to ensure that every student feels that they have that caring adult assigned to them and that they can depend on. And that caring adult will help to develop the habits, the skills, and the mindset of those students to be successful inside the classroom and outside of the classroom. We'll identify students that will be recommended for this student coach program. We'll create a defined curriculum for that particular program. We'll recruit student success coaches from colleges, from post-secondary opportunities, multiple fields, multiple backgrounds, and students who are relatable to our demographics and our students, and match those students with those coaches. Again, the goal here is to engage our students with stakeholders to develop their interests, to pair them with students, as well as ensure that those students feel that this is successful, that they have someone in the school that they feel is trusted and that cares about them as an individual. And finally, focus area number 10, we want to be a premier people-first organization. And by doing so, we want to grow our own quality and diverse staff. And we want to establish a pipeline to identify and develop prospective educators in our school district. And we also will do this by recruiting non-certified staff to pursue certification. We'll recruit strong teachers and early stage leaders to join leadership cohorts. We want to develop leadership cohorts within our school system. We want to establish funding sources to support these staff members, establish program goals for this initiative, and to partner with colleges and universities to make sure we bring interested students into our classroom. Board members and community, this is the culmination of all of the voices that we heard in the development of our plan. This strategic plan will be posted on our website. It is a living document. And our goals and our action steps will also be posted in eBoard for our community members to access and to review. We have already begun some of this work, and our steering and planning teams welcome you to join and to take on these exciting and new innovations with us. Please reach out to Ms. Tina Timms in our PR and Communications Department. Her number and her email address will be inside on page number 3. You can get her name or you can call right here to the central office and we'll connect you with the steering committee member of your choice. Mr. Board Member, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, this concludes my preview of the strategic plan for 2022-2027.
Thank you, Dr. Bullock, for a thorough presentation. Before you take your seat, I'm asking somebody to bring you a water hose. During the summer, you didn't have no bottled water and twigs. You got the water hose. Somebody give them a water hose. Thank you so much, Dr. Bullard, as we have been doing some great works in the district, and we see that our plans are developing to continue that work and to elevate it. So thank you. All right. We're going to put you at the bottom next time. All right, listen, as we move on, if it pleases the board and is okay with Dr. Bullock, we've accepted the business agenda as presented. I want to introduce business agenda item B and C at one time, considering that they're being presented by Dr. Griffin Stewart. All right. Business agenda item B. This is the Ramsey Education Information item being presented by Dr. Griffin Stewart, followed by business agenda item C. This is the proximity learning Spanish teacher approval, and this is an action item being presented by Dr. Griffin Stewart. I'm going to press on to business agenda item D. This is fully engaged consulting support. This is an action item being presented by Dr. Griffin Stewart. So I'll read these again in just the way that they're coming to us. As business agenda item B is an information item. C and D are action items. Am I correct?
That's correct.
All right. Good evening, Dr. Griffin Stewart. Proceed.
Good evening, Board Chair Harris, Vice Chair Rouse, board members, Superintendent Dr. Beck Bullard, all of our stakeholders in person and virtually, good evening. It brings me great pleasure to share information about Ramsey Education. But before I can share this information with you, we are a district with a vision, generating excellence, one team, one goal, and we're all about accomplishing our mission to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. Ramsey Education. Ramsey Education is a personal finance course that will be offered to our students next year. Let me tell you a little bit about Ramsey Education. Ramsey Education was created by Dave Ramsey. And Dave Ramsey started Ramsey Education over 2 decades ago when his life's work to teaching adults, it was all about how to handle money. Every day on the Dave Ramsey Show, Dave would teach adults across America how to budget, save, and avoid debt, and retire with dignity. As he counseled adults on these essential money topics, he often heard the same feedback over and over again. I wish I had learned this in high school. And so Dave Ramsey started his foundation in 2008. And so the name of the course is Foundations in Personal Finance. So the Ramsey Education was purchased by the Twiggs County Chamber of Commerce, so I want to definitely thank our chamber for purchasing this digital finance course for our students. Let me tell you a little bit about the course information and the timeline. We had our onboarding session May 2nd for teaching and learning and for school representatives, so we could get a better idea of what students will be involved in. The content area that we will serve this course in, it will be in our economics classes, and it is a digital platform, along with we will have an option for consumable books. So what I want to do is give you a snapshot of a student experience with Ramsey Education. So the Ramsey Education experience, students will go through chapters in the Ramsey Education curriculum. For example, in Chapter 1, Introduction to Personal Finance, there are 6 lessons that students will work through. In Chapter 2, Budgeting, there will be so many lessons, so it's like 5 lessons in budgeting. So all the chapters you see, if you go down to Chapter 5, Consumer Awareness, all of them have lessons attached where students will complete. And again, it will be housed in our economics course, so this will be an offering for our high school students. So what would that day look like for students? Just a couple of things that students will be involved in. They will open the lesson with chapter commentary, and it's focused on their learning objective. There will be a national standard, so they'll know the why they're doing it. There will be a lesson warm-up, so they will have a warm-up, and then they'll respond in writing. And then if you continue to go down, you will see that the teacher will teach the lesson and bring the curriculum, the finance to life. And what I like most about it is students will have a lot of make connections to real world experiences. So again, Ramsey Education will be a resource that we will implement during the 22-23 school year through our economics class, and our students will benefit greatly. Are there any questions? Twiggs County Chamber of Commerce. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're excited about it.
Mr. Harris seems to be out right now. I like to say that I think that was a good presentation.
Thank you.
It was a good thing for the younger people. I wish they'd have had that when I was coming along.
Same, Vice Chair.
I'd probably be off right now, but I had to learn the hard way. So as Chairman Harris said, we'll proceed with the next one, item C.
Okay.
Proximity learning, Spanish teacher. Action item.
So Vice Chair Rouse, board members, Superintendent Dr. McBullard, again, our stakeholders listening virtually and in person. It brings me pleasure to share updates on proximity learning and our needs for a Spanish teacher for the 22-23 school year. But as always, we are a district with a vision and a mission. Our vision is generating excellence, one team, one goal. Our mission is to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. As you know, during this school year, we had a couple of vacancies that we filled through proximity learning. And Proximity Learning, again, is an organization that provides certified virtual teachers to meet the needs of students in multiple content areas. Proximity Learning has been providing virtual teachers for 10+ years. The Twiggs County School District was supported by Proximity during this year, and students were served in the following areas: 7th grade language arts, 8th grade science, economics, English 9 and 12. So while we want our students to have a face-to-face instructor, we know that virtual is an experience they will have in the future. And so with that, I want to just share the connection with our vacancies. I want to give you an update on our vacancies as well. The Twiggs County Middle School, the vacancy updates. We have all vacancies filled for the 22-23 school year, so that's definitely a celebration. So we're excited about that. So as we move to the Twiggs County High School, we still have some vacancies to fill. One is English 9-12, Family and Consumer Science, I do have an interview set up tomorrow with a candidate, so I'm excited about that. We have an art contingency contract and a recommendation tonight. We have Spanish, and then we also have math, geometry, and pre-calculus. But the one that concerns me the most is the Spanish teacher. If you look at the comment in red, no candidates in Power School. It's challenging to fill that vacancy. So what it led me to do is do a little more research through the Georgia State University, and that was a study done on the shortage of America's foreign language teachers. And so factors affecting foreign language teacher shortage is pretty much like the general ed teachers as well, but not highly qualified in the area of Spanish. So there are not a lot of candidates out there who are qualified. But those Spanish teachers who are qualified choose for whatever reason not to teach, or they don't stay long. Foreign language teachers are hard positions to fill, and foreign language teachers have the highest rate of attrition. Again, they come, but the retention rate is tough. And so what I'm here today is to request to hire a proximity Spanish teacher for the 22-23 school year. So what would be the benefits? We will have that certified Spanish teacher, a consistent teacher from beginning to the end of the 22-23 school year, preparing students for a global society, because virtual instruction is a part of the way we approach learning now. So when students go to college, that virtual experience is there. And so that's what evolved out our COVID experience. Students will go ahead and get those rituals and routines set for learning. And we want to do our best for them to avoid missed instruction. So what are the cost benefits for hiring a Spanish virtual teacher? It will be 5 days of instruction at 60 minutes, which will be a cost of $67,320. The setup and support will be $1,799.94, which gives us a total of $69,119.94. So what would be the savings for the district? $13,694 we would not have to pay in the teacher retirement system. $11,340 state health benefits, we would not pay that. And then $5,287.24 off FICA, we would not have to pay that cost, which would give us a total savings of $30,318.76. And this Spanish teacher, the budget will be CARES 2 or 3. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions for Dr. Stewart?
Yes, sir.
If not, I see it's an action item. Superintendent Bullock, what's your?
Mr. Vice Chair, I recommend that the board approve us to move forward using proximity learning next year in the hiring of a Spanish teacher.
We have a recommendation from Superintendent Bullock to hire proximity learning Spanish teacher for next year. Do we have a motion? There have been a motion made by Ms. Blackshear, seconded by Ms. King, to accept the recommendation for proximity learning speech Spanish teacher approval, recommendation of Dr. Bullock. Any questions? Once again, I have a motion to accept the recommendation from Dr. Bullock for proximity learning Spanish teacher approval. All in favor of the motion? Either by aye or either raising your hand. That motion carried. 3-1.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Rouse.
Thank you. Next, Dr. Griffin Stewart again will engage consultant support. Dr. Griffin Stewart.
Okay, and it will be with a laser focus on supporting the pacing guide process. Our vision, generating excellence, one team, one goal. We're all about our mission to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. What will Fully Engaged provide for us? Support with starting our pacing guide creation. We will start with our high school milestones and, of course, subjects. It will be American literature, Algebra 1, biology, and U.S. history. Pacing guides will include the following: instruction days allotted, learning targets aligned to the Georgia Standards of Excellence, instructional delivery strategies and resources, the mini lesson, student practice and assessments work session, days built in for student remediation, for reteaching, intervention, and the ways to retest students, technology integration, data-driven instruction and goal setting, and we'll use some of the Georgia Department of Education's resources, along with the Georgia Department of Education curriculum map alignment, original resources and documents and available district resources that we have, and we'll also reflect on the student strengths and challenges. This summer work will be very aggressive. We will be focusing on completing units 1 and 2 of each end of course subject. The planning dates are as follows. So Fully Engaged in person, 4 days on these days: June the 2nd, June the 8th, June the 15th, June the 22nd, June the 28th, and also July the 18th. The time frame will be from 9 to 3. Our location will be at JES Elementary School, and we will be working in the media center because we'll need space to bring all the materials and resources, what we need for a work session. We'll focus on the first 9 weeks of school. So as we're working, our next steps would be Dr. Griffin Stewart and Fully Engaged Consulting will create the pacing guides during the month of June 2022, those 4. So we will be in a designated location, again, JES, working on those pacing guides. Teachers will review pacing guides in mid-July 2022 and provide feedback. Pacing guides will be finalized and ready for teacher use during pre-planning and those end of course areas. And again, we're all about staying focused on semester 1. And so the goal as we're continuing the work is to include the teachers in the process so they get a chance to work through the pacing guide process. But in the initial stages, it will be Fully Engaged and yours truly, Dr. Griffin Stewart. But as you consider the first phase of this work with pacing guides, I want you to think about the example of school supplies for students. If you look at the image, you will see that there's a book bag, you have notebooks, pencils, scissors, plus students. And we know that students are more successful when they have those school supplies. So school supplies plus students, it helps to support student success. So when you think about the pacing guide creation for teachers, I want you to look at those pacing guides. It's like school supplies for students. So those pacing guides helps teachers be successful as well. So again, we want to support student success, but in order for our students to be successful, we have to continue to support teacher success. Now we know that students can come to school without school supplies, and they get by, but it's challenging, but they make it. But we want to create the best environment for our students as well as teachers. When we have those pacing guides, we are setting the best conditions for teachers to be prepared. So what would be the cost for Fully Engaged? This would be for June and July. Again, it's $1,750 per day times 6. The total would be $10,500, and the budget it would come from would be ESSER or CARES 2. Now, we will have the teachers to preview those pacing guides, but when we had our Department of Education visit, we did have a specialist. We had some content specialists on, so we'll also send the guide to them to review and preview and to have feedback as well. So it won't just be teachers looking at the pacing guides, which we need them, but we'll also have content specialists from the Department of Education who conducted our visit to also give feedback on the quality and on what they think about the pacing guides as well. So are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's gonna be 6 people. Got 1,750 dollars times 6. So that's at 6 individuals.
It will only be fully engaged, and myself, it will be 6 days. We'll work for 6 full
that's
days.
6 days.
Yes, ma'am, that's for 6 days. And it will be 6 full days that fully engaged will be here in our district, and we'll be in a location over at JES, just working on those pacing guides for that time period.
You say it's for June and July?
June and July.
Just that one day in July?
Just a one day in July, because we want to get with the principals and invite the teachers back who will be teaching these content areas so they can look at it, preview it, give us some feedback along with the Department of Education so they can be ready to use it. Because this document, you revise it pretty much every year, but we want feedback from the teachers so they'll be able to use it. And as we're doing it, then it'll help with making sure we're buying the right resources for those classes as well.
So that means that you'll be implementing once you and the fully engaged go over, you'll be implementing to the others.
Correct, correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I supported this before when it came, but it's a little different now, see. So the high school is, I see American Lit, Algebra 1, Biology, and U.S. History, so we're focusing mainly on the high school.
And the reason we're focusing on the high school, for one, a lot of the high school classes just needs a focus because a lot of our newer teachers are there and they really need something immediately to be able to use as a guide. You know, when I think about the high school and then when I think about the middle school, it's a little more experienced teachers there. So they already have their plan of action that they've been working through. But we really want to help those teachers who come in and they just don't have the background or really the knowledge that we've got to put something in their hand. This is like their guide. It's like a recipe for a new cook. And so as they keep using the pacing guide, they will continue to build, you know, their teaching skills, and then they'll start adding more in. But this is like their recipe to get them started.
So what are the plans for the other students, for the middle school, I mean for the teachers, for the middle school teachers and the elementary teachers?
What's
because
good?
we got a lot of new teachers coming.
What's good for them in the middle school is we do have already math, and already math is really scripted. And then we want to come before the board with already reading. And so that's K-8. So they have some really reliable resources already that they can use. And it's easy to follow, it's easy to train. We have trainings from our already consultants already. And the majority of our teachers right now, they've been trained through already, and we will continue to receive training. And so the high school is where I see that they don't have any programs that's scripted for them. Because when you go through the already material, again, it'll tell you the standard, you know what the hook is, you know what the instructional lesson is, then it will move them to working independently. The teacher can come back and review, so they have a script to follow. So if you have a new teacher, it's easy to follow that script as opposed to if you don't have anything. So that what's good about a pacing guide is a one-stop shop. So you'll have a guide, you'll have some links in there to preview. So once we're finished with the process, the goal is to share a plan with the board so you can see what a teacher will actually experience.
One other thing, I see where we say teachers will review pacing guides in mid-July 2022 and provide feedback. I mean, when the teachers do come back, and they come back with feedback that they need, you know, further help, who will be there for them to help them through this process?
Well, Fully Engaged will be there to get the feedback.
In July?
In July. So that will be a last session. And so we're not anticipating a lot because the good thing is we will have principals previewing too, who are pretty much content specialists as well. And so it will go through a series of principals first before we even go to the teachers. So they'll tell us what they think. And pacing guides, as we go through it, it's a very time-consuming process. It is very time-consuming because we want to create a good product for those end of course teachers or just those high school teachers. Then we want to have a resource that we have, in our repository, in our bank, on our teaching and learning page, because I'm working on a teaching and learning page where it will be there, but it will only be reserved for our district employees to see it as opposed to anyone seeing it. So we want to have it their house. So let's say, for example, if we have a new teacher to come in, they have a repository to go to see where we are. And every year, you update it because standards change. We're going through a new standards process for math. And so when those standards are revised and updated, then we have to go back and then we have to revise. So it's an ongoing cycle, but at least we'll have our frame there. We'll have our resources, and it'll be all about revising. So it's a time-consuming process, Board. I want to let you know that it's time-consuming.
And I know the new teachers coming in, I know they will need a curriculum map, to know what they need to do next, or,
Correct.
I understand that. After the first 9 weeks, though,
We'll have to start
what is the plan?
Yeah, we'll have to start on the process for the second 9 weeks. We have to start on the process for the second 9 weeks.
So we start on the second process, will we still need fully engaged?
We may not need him in that capacity for pacing guides anymore. It just depends on the training of the teachers. Once we train the teachers, then we'll know what our process will look like.
Okay, I guess this is another question. I think we have, I think you presented on fully engaged before. And I noticed now we broke it down to less expenses, less costs.
Right.
I guess my question is, and this just me, was there anyone else that offered this service that we could have had something to compare to?
If so, I went with someone that I have some experience with, and I know that they will get the work done. So that was the defining point for me, because a lot of times you can get with a consultant, and when you don't know their work, it's a gamble. But, so no, I didn't have anyone else that I just looked at. I just know that, his work has been very credible, and I know that we'll get it done. So that's the end game for me, is I want to get it done for teachers.
And I understand that. And this, my point is that as far as what I know, I still don't know. I mean, I understand
Sir.
that you have previous, this person work, the quality of their work. And I don't want nothing shabby myself. But I also like to have something that I can compare to know that that I'm getting a good bang for my buck. So that's my concern with that. I mean, even if we had had two vendors and Dr. Bullock could have said that was his recommendation, would have been the consultants, but not giving me a chance to compare nobody, it's kind of hard for me just to accept something like that.
So what I would just ask Board Chair Rouse, if we could do one round of the work, and then if the work is not acceptable, then we move on. But I would love for you to see the first round of the work and see what you think, what feedback you'll have. We'll have feedback from teachers. But I do think that you will be satisfied with the work. As a teaching and learning assistant superintendent, I can assure you I have the best interests of students and staff. That's all I know to do, is do what's best for kids. So if the work is not quality, I promise I respect that fully. But I would just ask you all to get fully engaged or try. And then again, if the work is not of quality, then we continue to press forward. Because sometimes consultants can be a gamble. That's just been my experience in my last 25 years. And so I just want someone I know who will get it done and have a good product and who has teachers at the focus of our work. So Board, Vice Chair Ross, I respect your comment, but at this time, I don't have anyone else to compare him to, because I have had experience in the past with some consultants that did not work out well. So when you get one and you know they'll work, you try to stick it out with them. So again, if you, see the work fully engaged, and then if it's not to your excellence, then I would say, hey, let's just move on. But I do want to be able to provide a resource for teachers when they come back, and then I want to continue to work, because our teachers deserve a good product. They deserve it. And for me, it's about retention. I want us to keep teachers, and the resources that we have in place determines whether we keep teachers or not, because they want to come, they want to pick up something, and they want to move forward. So, Board Chair Rouse, I respect, your comments, and I respect your thoughts as well. But again, at this time, I don't have anyone else to compare him to.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
No problem.
Dr. Griffin Stewart, the question was, did we have another consultant possible that would compare to this presentation? So the conversation that we shared in our deliberation in previous conversations about fully engaged was, could RISA offer a service similar to it? And I spoke to Dr. Bullard, and we just shared some small conversation about it. They don't offer something specific to what it is that fully engaged does. And we know that RISA is reliable. We know that we've used them in the past, but just using as a, if we had to name another service provider that has done some work in the district, did they offer something similar to this? And the response at this time is not to what we're looking for in the specificities that are necessary in this season. Okay. All right.
Is Ms. Oates involved in this?
The plan is for her to be involved in the second round, because the original work, we were going to involve teachers in April and May, but the majority of the teachers are working summer school, and Ms. Oates is a summer school teacher.
Oh, okay.
And so the teachers we wanted to use for the process, they are doing summer school. So they will be at a burnout by the time they end the day, and I know that would not be the best. But the second round, we want teachers to be involved in the process, because if they know the process, then they will be able to do it themselves too. We want to teach teachers how to do it as well.
All right. Seeing no more questions for Dr. Griffin Stewart. Dr. Griffin Stewart, this is your last presentation?
It is. Check me off.
Call you back. All right.
So you was gone so long there,
Part of my absence. It's election night. All right. Fully engaged consulting support action item. Board, are you ready to take action?
Yes.
All right. Dr. Bullock, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chair, I recommend that you approve the utilization of fully engaged consulting as presented by Dr. Griffin Stewart.
Board, we've heard the presentation. Dr. Bullock, we've heard your recommendation. May I have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation?
I'll make that motion.
Motion has been made by Ms. Stokes. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. King. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye. Raise your hand if you approve the motion for fully engaged. Aye. Any opposes? That motion carries 4-1. Any discussion? All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Business agenda item E. This is financial reports for the months of February, March, and April 2022. This is an information item being presented by Mr. Austin.
Good evening, Board Chair, Vice
Proceed.
Chair, Board members, Superintendent Dr. Bullard, constituents in person and virtually. We presented on February, March, and April financial reports and I will speak at a general level of all three reports to ensure timeliness on these reports. And I am sure they align to our vision of generate excellence, one team, one goal, and our mission to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. What you see before you is February 2022. Our total receipts, we received about 76% of our revenue and expended 72%. And so we are in a good position in February because we are bringing in more receipts than we're expending at that particular moment in time. As we move over to our school nutrition fund, school nutrition at 72% receipts and also 67% as it relates to our expenditures. Overall, February did contribute to our monthly fund balance in a positive manner. As it relates to March, if we look at the same manner, revenue 81% has been received, 80% of our expenditures is accounted for compared to our budget on our general fund. As it relates to school nutrition fund, 86% revenue received and 79% expenditures. Lastly, as we look at April, 91% of our revenue has been received, 88% has been expended. School nutrition accounts, 89% received and 88% expended. Debt service accounts for all three reports remains the same because we do not pay any of our bond or principal interest payments until this summer and also the end of this year, which is our principal payment. So you will see that amount remain consistent at this particular point in time. We are aware that in our labor costs, supply chain costs, those things have impacted certain functions, and we do know that we're monitoring those, especially like, for example, maintenance. The cost of everything is very high, and so we did not anticipate those changes, but overall, our budget is strong enough to support that because we have made the right strategies and other functions to offset any labor costs or market increases. So I feel confident overall. Are there any questions about February, March, and or April reports?
Seeing no questions, we can move to business agenda item F. This is the tentative budget for fiscal year 2023. This is proposed for advertisement. This is an information item being presented again by Assistant Superintendent, CFO, Mr. James Austin.
Yes, sir. Protocol has been established. As we look at our budget process, we're at the particular point to present the FY23 tentative budget. In our last budget sessions, we have talked about funding mandates, priorities, things to consider, our competitive salary package that we have approved in former board meetings. So this is a presentation to show that work and what we will present for approval on June 14th as our final budget. However, before we get into the presentation, we will need to review our vision, which is generate excellence, one team, one goal, and our mission to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. Budget highlights from the past 6 months. Of course, the competitive salary and incentive that we did for our staff, 5% for teachers, $2,000 from the governor, 4.5% step increase for all other positions, plus a step increase, and also raising our minimum wage to $10. State QBE, we have noted that the student enrollment did decrease to 680. Teaching allotment decreased to 41.37. Austerity was restored. The budget is fully funded by the definition of the state, and we're only funding what the QB allotment has on its allotment proportions for each category. So we're being very strategic in preparing for that this year. As state revenue, we did receive more money than we anticipated from our preliminary numbers from the state. So that was a combination of funding the salary increases and also maximizing categories that in the past we did not have the best strategy, but through the work of the team and senior administration, Dr. Bullard, we have overcame that hurdle. No tax millage increase will take place in this FY23 budget. So expected revenue, a pie chart is before you to show three categories. Federal category, 16.2% of our budget will come from federal programs. This is Title II, Title IV, 5, things of that nature. SPED programs, CARES is not considered in that federal program category. QBE, which is state QBE funding, 33.9%, and local, 49.9%. These are the allocations of revenue resources for the 23 budget. As we look in the past 5 years of our tax digest, Twiggs County has a strong tax digest, and that's been evident because we have not increased our tax millage rate since I've been here and years prior to that, and that has been consistent. And the reason for that is because our digest has grown over time, and we've seen that increase. That trend has held true, and that's the reason we do not anticipate a tax millage increase. As we have in the past, I always looked at our past budgets to determine where we've been. FY22, FY21 budgets are before you. We do know that in FY21, we've seen the first real impact of COVID, and we had a drastic drop in revenue, and that's reflected there. FY22 was the first budget that was dependent on CARES funding once all of the allocations were provided from the state. And so two drastic different budgets, one that was initially impacted by COVID and a budget that had to respond to COVID. So that's what's presented before you in FY21 and FY22. QBE history from 20 to 23. In FY20, we received $4,066,276 in our QB allotment. Over time in FY21, we had our 17% reduction in funding from the state. That was $3.3 million. FY22, $3.4 million. In FY23, $3.8 million. What I want to note, and the reason this history is important, because we have increased from our initial offset of that 17% in FY21 over $500,000 to put up really close to pre-pandemic levels. So QBE is responding and rebounding, so which is a good thing for us because we know that our state funding is becoming stronger. As we look at our FTE history, again in FY20 there was 746, 21 753. 22, 693, and 23 projected 680. One thing to note is that the district was seeing a positive trend of increasing FTE enrollment in the district. From FY20 to 21, there was an increase, so we do know we was heading in the right direction. So COVID did provide a downward slope, and we're seeing the impact of that. However, us maximizing our weighted categories and also doing other things to ensure we're fiscally responsible has provided somewhat of an offset to the decrease in our FTE. Teacher allotment is very important. This is a good portion of our budget, so ensuring that we match the teacher allotment and have class sizes appropriate is very important for our budget and sustainability. So FY20, we had 46.89 teachers, FY21, 42.37, FY22, 41.57, FY23 remained the same at 41.57. This is saying that based on the 18 categories that the state has provided and the students that are served in those categories, this is the total amount of teachers that the state has funded for us to provide a basic education to those students. So what are our goals moving forward? So fund staffing based on allotment and salary schedules. The budget will fund position on salary schedules and what the state allotment has. Provide quality service, improve our overall customer service through technology innovation, leadership, development, and implementing instructional best practices. Improve employee morale that will fund initiatives that address social and emotional issues, labor force, and better pay incentives. So the overall budget for 23 is $9,624,691. The told you budget for last year, excuse me, FY '22 was $8,900,475. The difference of $724,216. Some of the primary reasons that our QBE funding is increasing and is being restored. So we have seen that. And also our tax digest is increasing as well, and we're receiving more dollars for the current amount of land that we have assessed in the district. And also for our salary adjustments, I know that question came up, well, how much will we have to fund for the salary package that we put together? It was roughly $350,000. So we had up to $435,000 in our allotment in that, but we came under that amount. So we did pretty well there. Just high level, this pie chart is to serve one purpose, is just to show you who has the biggest piece of the pie. And if you look at 1,000 in yellow or gold, which is in our instructional category, it's often said where you spend your money, you can tell where your priorities lie, and our priorities lie with our students and instruction. Also, if you look at local, which is in a blue color to your left, our local revenue source is our dominant source until our QBE dollars continue to improve. As you're accustomed to seeing, this is the presentation of the FY23 budget that will be advertised. It shows all funding sources that the district will consider, from general funds to our debt service account and paying our bonds back, Title 1, 2, 4, even considering L4GA, pre-K, and school nutrition. That concludes the presentation for the work that was done to prepare the tentative budget for FY23. Are there any questions, concerns at this time?
Mr. Austin.
Yes, sir.
Seeing your presentation, I just want you to correct me if I'm wrong. You see a QBE for teachers allotment. You said we allotted, what, 41.57?
Yes, sir.
How many teachers do we actually have? Anticipating.
So QBE and our electives, we have to consider both of those stories. So we are looking at matching our allotment for our teachers that are core classes such as math, science, social studies, and etc. However, we do have elective classes such as PE, art, band that are not supported by the QBE formula. So we hover between 56 to 57 teachers total. That includes our instructional teachers, core teachers, and also our elective teachers that are locally funded.
Board members, do you have any further questions for Mr. Austin? Mr. Austin, our tentative budget will be proposed for advertisement as of tomorrow, and then we'll advertise until the second Tuesday, June.
14th, correct.
Excuse me for the board members, I want to get your thoughts on this along with you, Dr. Bullard, as a board member as well. There are a few areas of concern that we need to further discuss in reference to our proposed budget. It is my recommendation as board chair, and I hope that I have your support on this as well as Dr. Bullard, that we call a session to discuss the budget in its entirety as a business agenda item A solely before June 14th. Do I have support on my recommendation? Ms. Stokes? Okay. We'll further discuss date and time, and we'll propose it before adjournment for tonight. We can discuss date and time, and then we'll propose it to give a public date and time before adjournment tonight. That's fair? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Austin.
Yes, sir.
All right. We're going to move on to our business agenda item G. This is the payroll accruals schedule for July accruals only. This is an action item, needs our approval, being presented by Mr. Austin again. Thank you, Mr. Austin.
Thank you, Board Chair.
Proceed.
So the accrual schedules is an accounting mechanism that we use to ensure our employees that do not physically work over the summer still maintain a check from the district. So we are looking at ways to become more efficient in this process to save the district additional dollars, and also as a recruitment and retention mechanism to ensure that our new employees, that they do not have to wait a month until they're paid, depending on when they start, or they receive less dollars monthly because of how they have to be divided. So this addresses that, and I do believe it aligns to our mission to inspire, challenge, prepare all students to compete globally, and our vision of generating excellence, one team, one goal. So historically, the school started around Labor Day school year, but the trends has moved to early August as the start dates, and as a result of these earlier dates, the payroll cycle for teachers and those employees that are in that category ran from September through the following August, and most systems have to divide it over 12 to ensure equal pay. What we're looking at is to ensure that we address our accrual situation here and also make it more feasible for us to close the fiscal year quicker, and also ensure that we do not have to give teachers options that we have in the past between 12 or 13 months. So the proposed solution is that there will be 2 payrolls that take place in July. And what this means is if a person received a check of $4,000, they'll receive that check twice, and they'll start their new pay the following month. Currently, they receive their check of $4,000 in July, of $4,000 in August, and their new pay starts in September. The definition of new pay is the approved salary schedule for FY23. That new pay increase will start in September. And so now that pay increase will start for those teachers in August. So the advantages of this is, on the next slide, is we roughly save about $60,000 in state health benefits because we only have to assess benefits once opposed to twice. And that saves the district $60,000. The closing of the fiscal year can be done earlier. We are expected to close the fiscal year September 30th of each year, and we can close now mid-August to late August. And this gives us more opportunity to become more fiscally responsible and more transparent and ensure we continue to meet all our state deadlines. One of the things is that the new employees, when they were coming in, going back to the 12 months and 13 months, which is so important, is that I'm coming in a new job, new teacher, and I divide my check over 13 months because I cannot afford to forego a full month without being paid. However, I may receive $200 less in my check. So this addresses that so that when they come in, they are getting their expected pay their full year. And this has been an issue that we received from a lot of our teachers that were leaving, especially coming in, so this helps us with that effort as well. Now, TRS can swing high and low. And so if TRS increases like it did 2 or 3 years ago, about 2 to 3%, that can cause a very hard burden on the district financially. So in the event that does happen, we're able to only pay 1 month of that TRS opposed to 2 months. And so this saved the district 1 full month of teacher retirement costs as well. And so this also provides us a financial cushion in the future in the event that there is a swing in that. So there are some key financial advantages, recruitment advantages, and accounting and closing of the fiscal year advantages to this process. Other considerations, this impact would be for our 10-month employees, of course, as we know, as teachers, school nutrition staff, which is including that as well. Prior to me, the bus drivers are already addressed in this. So this is the reason they're not listed in the 180-day to 109-day employee group. Employees will still receive an August check. So they would not have to forego a check in August because they received those payments in July. As stated before, the new salary will include approved raises and will be reflected in August. I'm sure that our teachers and staff would like to see their raises sooner than later. So this also helps us with from a retention standpoint and ensuring that we're putting forth a good faith effort. And the district has the cash flow in July to make sure this happens. Historically, our cash flow seems to drop in September. So this also helps us with our cash flow as well with this proposed change. These dollars are owed to the teachers, to the 10-month employees, regardless of what process we take. So it's not like we're doing anything additional. We're simply moving our accounting practices to better address fiscal year responsibilities, again, recruitment efforts and retention efforts, and ensuring that we are being more fiscally responsible. We'll save additional dollars. So the next steps, the reason this is not coming for information because, again, these dollars are already owed to that person. So it's not something that we can change per se. And the district will prepare again to close earlier, and we can continue to improve our fiscal efforts and our audit reporting as well. So those are the next steps in this process. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
Are there any questions for Mr. Austin? Seeing none, Dr. Bullock, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chair and board members, I request that you approve the payroll accrual schedule for July accruals only as presented by Mr. Austin.
Thank you. Board members, no questions for Dr. Bullock and Mr. Austin. We have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation and Mr. Austin's presentation to accept the July accruals for payroll.
I make that motion.
Motion been properly made by Mr. Rouse. Seconded by Ms. Blackshear. Any discussions? No discussion. I know you by saying aye, raise your hand. You approve the motion to accept the July accruals. Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Austin. And your final presentation is business agenda item H. This is finance software for the fiscal year of 2022-23 and implementation in 24. Action item again being presented by our CFO and Assistant Superintendent, Mr. James Austin.
Now, I'm on my way to my seat after this, I promise.
We appreciate you.
So we presented information about the finance software implementation. We've been planning this for 4 years. The day I came, there was a need for a change. However, I needed to understand the district, the culture, the practices, our business processes, resolve some finance issues. There was a lot of lead work that had to take place first. And so evidence of that was in FY20 when we came before you all with no finance in FY20. Evidence is that has improved business processes and also cash flow improvements and looking at fund balance improvements. So we've done a lot of work to get to this point. And I am confident this aligns to our vision of generate excellence, one team, one goal, and our mission to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. In this implementation timeline, FY 22, 23, and 24 are the fiscal years that are assessed, and I wanted to use those fiscal years to spread the budget across all three. It was very important because it is a major purchase, and I wanted to have the flexibility to amend the budget on what fiscal year had the most impact, and I have that flexibility with this structure. So in the pre-planning stage of the implementation timeline, in FY 22, which would be from now into June, contracts and kickoff, we're reviewing that information and preparing to kick off this process. In FY 23, in the pre-planning phase, we will look at data, import and export. And this means that information we have in PC Genesis, we'll start looking at ways to move that data into the new software. The implementation cycle is for us to approve the timeline. So we'll dictate the timeline of how this will flow for the district. The vendors recommend 6 to 9 months. We have planned for 14 months. Module implementation would take place. What I mean by module is accounting module, purchasing module, HR modules, anything that's a function of how we conduct business is considered a module in this category. Looking into the launch phase, in FY 23 to 24, majority of this will take place, and that's finalizing those modules and actually launching the software in July 1, 2023 through July 15 of 2023. So our top considerations as a software as a service, or SaaS as we call it, is one, we save roughly $40,000 in payroll costs in FY 22. This was a major consideration, so we have dollars from this year's budget that we can use to help fund this. We plan for budget to spread across 3 fiscal years. It saves the district about 2,000 hours of work in all departments and persons that have their hands involved in any of the key function areas. So that time can be reallocated to assist with the strategic plan efforts that we've seen presented earlier by our superintendent, for example. Prepared cost analysis. We did do a cost analysis, apples to apple comparison, because we wanted to ensure that both vendors provided us the same product and resources and get a fair comparison. We did participate with rubrics, reference checks, and demonstrations. Multiple demonstrations were done. And we also consider our business process. Will this help our senior senior staff, support staff, school staff become more efficient in this implementation. So in the rubric, there were 4 rubrics that were graded and turned in. Other members of various departments spoke verbally that whatever the decision came out to be, they were in support of it. So everyone had an opportunity to have their input. And for the rubrics that we received, Infinite Visions was the most favored. Taking that recommendation from the committee that would inform their committee because they submitted a recommendation, Tyler Technology Infinite Visions came to be our top recommendation to the board tonight. So we look at the budget breakdown. From May to June, we look at about 5% of this budget would take place, which is $4,000. And remember, we have that $40,000 that we have not assessed, so we have plenty to take care of that. July 22 to 23, 60% of the budget will be expended. A lot of the lead work will be done for us, the implementation of $53,571. May through June, 33% will be expended, $29,464.05. And 2% will be looked at in July of 2023, $1,785.7. So this is the breakup of the budget, when we should be expecting those funds to actually hit, and what we are actually going to look forward to over the next 2 to 3 fiscal years. So our next steps in this process is to review and execute a contract, choose the implementation team, which is very important, review of our current business processes and how we're going to address those, preparation for data export, import, prepare our timeline, and begin implementation. Board Chair, Board Members, Superintendent Dr. Bullock, thank you for allowing me to go through this process over the past 6 to 8 months and present a solution that will provide us innovation, efficiency, and more time for our staff. Are there any questions at this time?
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Austin. Board members, we've heard the presentation from Mr. Austin. Dr. Bullock, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Board Chair, board members, I recommend that you approve the FY 22, 23, and 24 implementation of Tyler Technologies as presented by Mr. Austin.
Thank you, Dr. Bullock. Board members, we've heard the recommendation. We have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for implementation for the finance software for FY 22, 23, 24 for purchase.
So moved.
Motion's been properly made by District 2, Ms. Blackshear. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by District 3, Ms. Rhonda King. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye, raising your hand. You approve the motion to accept. Aye.
Aye.
No opposes. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Austin.
Yes, sir.
Final business agenda item I. Business agenda item I, this is district request. Action item being presented by Superintendent Dr. Matt Bullard.
Good evening again, board members.
Good evening.
We do have 2 field trip requests and a set of fundraising requests from one organization for the next school year we'd like for you to consider. I'm looking on the screen and I see one field trip request on the screen. Hopefully you have in your packet 2. There's a field trip request that says May the 9th, but that should be June the 9th. Okay, you see 06, 05, it should be 06. June the 9th, 2022, Ms. Erica Williams, who was with us tonight, will be taking the Tweeds County High School PEC students to Walmart in Warner Robins. And again, this is career exploration with the GVRA Summer Grow Getting Ready for Opportunity in Work program. And as she mentioned on tonight, they get an opportunity to learn how to work with a boss, work with others. And that next trip is planned for the 9th of June. And that's a Thursday. We've also had the Junior Beta Club at JES asked for permission to travel to Nashville, Tennessee to participate in the National Beta Club Convention. And that will be on Wednesday, June the 29th through Friday, July the 1st. And they will participate in the National Beta Club Convention. If you recall, that is an award-winning beta club over at JES. We ask your permission to approve that field trip on their behalf. Our fundraisers also come from the Junior Beta Club, and this is their fundraising projects for the year. They've already planned what activities, what field trips, etc., they'd like to do for the year. So what you have in front of you is their fundraising plan for the year, and with your approval, they won't have to bring this back before you. So from May the 11th, basically through May the 12th, 2023, they're asking your permission to approve Coca-Cola sale. This is for home, school, and community. Lollipop sales, home and school, World's Finest Chocolate Bars, home, community, and school. Krispy Kreme donut sales. Faculty, staff basketball concessions. Fall goodie bag sales. Candygram sale. And the spring cupcake walk sale. And again, this is all to gather the funds for them to participate in the national and state and leadership summits that they're going to participate in for next year.
Do you know how many students will be the PEC?
How many are going on that trip?
Yeah, how many?
I know she
Should
has,
be going on that trip?
she has 7 in her class.
7, okay.
So that's what
I noticed there wasn't but one.
yes,
one
I would expect,
parent.
I would expect all of them
Okay.
to participate.
Thank you, Dr. Bullock. Any more questions? Seeing none, we've heard the superintendent's district request and his recommendation. May I have a motion to accept the superintendent's district request for field trips and for fundraisers?
I'll make that motion.
Motion been properly made by Vice Chair Rouse. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Shirley Stokes. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye, raising your hand. If you accept the motion and second to approve district field trip and fundraisers, aye. No opposes. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Bullard. Thank you, Senior Cabinet and Ms. Williams, for your presentations on tonight. Lengthy board meeting for last day of school, right? Business as usual. Thank you, Dr. Bullard. Have we exhausted our business agenda for tonight's meeting?
Yes, sir. We got
Board members, do we have any questions or concerns on anything that appeared on our proposed agenda and approved agenda for tonight's meeting? Seeing none, as stated in public session, we will further discuss the date and the time for a call meeting to discuss our budget at large during the executive session. And once we have completed our conversation in executive session, we will come back before you tonight and accept the superintendent's recommendations. All right. Seeing that we have no further questions or concerns for anything that we heard or appeared before us tonight, may I have a motion to exit public session and enter into executive session?
So moved.
Motion to properly made by Ms. King. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Stokes. Any discussion? No discussion. I know by saying aye, raise your hand. We approve the motion to exit public session into executive session. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposers? No opposers. That motion carries unanimously. We are now in executive session. Thank you. Good evening again, Twigs. Thank you for your patience. Senior Cabinet, thank you for being with us throughout the duration of our executive session. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to exit executive session and enter into public session.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made by Ms. Stokes. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. King. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye. Raise your hand if you approve the motion to exit executive session. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're now back in public session. Board members, we have thoroughly heard our superintendent's comments, concerns, and recommendations for terminations, for resignations, and for new hires. Before I ask for the superintendent's recommendations for terminations, resignations, and new hires, I want to announce that the board will be having a call meeting on June 8th. And the time and location will be publicized upon confirmation at the close of business this week. Thank you, Dr. Bullard. June 8th call board meeting, board members. If you govern yourselves accordingly. At this time, I'd like to point your attention to the executive summary. We have viewed the resignations for tonight's meeting. I have a motion to accept resignation from EID 3888.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion been properly made by Ms. Stokes and seconded by Ms. Blackshear. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye. Raise your hand if you accept the motion to approve the resignation from EID 388. Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. That motion carries unanimously. At this time, we will look at new hires. This time I have a motion to accept new hire recommendations for CID 4536 and 4538.
So moved.
Motion been properly made by Ms. King. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Blackshear. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye. Raise your hand if you accept the motion to approve new hires CID 4536 and 4538. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. That motion carries unanimously. Have I omitted anything in our executive or on our executive session summary for tonight?
You've covered all segments of the executive session.
Board members have exhausted everything that we've covered for tonight and made announcements that are necessary.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. At this time, I ask for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Proudly made by Ms. Stokes. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. King. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye. Raise your hand if you accept the motion to approve the adjournment for tonight's meeting. Aye. Any opposers? No opposers. That motion carries unanimously. Good night, Tweaks County.